Greetings, folks. I, I promise you that after the long video message from last week, I'm not going to be near as long this week. I promise you. But I do have several things to tell you, but I want to start off with the thing that is really, in my opinion, the most important thing that happened last week, and that is the Inclusion Council was kicked off. As many of y'all may know by now, Shanika Pygott is going to be our leader for the Inclusion Council. And so many of y'all stepped up and wanted to be included on the council and are very excited about the possibilities of where we're going to go with this council. I am really, really excited myself. I think just knowing that there's so many of y'all out there that really want to do this work and are excited about the possibilities for it is really very sobering, and it means quite a bit. It really does mean that the mission and vision of CARE South Carolina to improve and enhance the health and well-being for everyone is really in the hearts of most of you. So this is important work. I talked about this work a little bit last night at the board meeting. The board remembered when several years ago we started the Institute for Healthcare um, Improvement with the IHI and the work in equity. And they're excited also about this new energy that we've got and where it will lead. So thank you all. Shanika is a wonderful leader for this. Right now, I think, if I'm not incorrect, there's 30 folks that are going to be members on this inclusion council. So that's a very exciting development. So shifting gears just a little bit, one of the things over the last several weeks that we've become very aware of is that as this coronavirus progresses, and frankly, I know that folks are getting tired. Um, they could be getting very worried. We're having a significant increase in the number of cases that are out there that are positive. We see enormous numbers of folks that are positive in places that we all want to go, the beach, Charleston, even the mountains up in the Greenville, Spartanburg area. But we're very aware that this coronavirus is frankly not anywhere near over. We're still facing a pretty tough summer. We don't know what's going to be going on in our schools. There's a lot of anxiety. By now, home environments have gotten stretched to almost a breaking point. So we know we're very aware of this. Liz Kirshner and I, Liz, of course, is the Director of Behavioral Health. Liz and I have talked about this. And I think you're going to see a lot more conversation from the Department of Behavioral Health around how we can support you and your families as we move toward the future months. She's going to be releasing a video message next week also. So pay attention to it. Please remember that, in my opinion, I'm a little biased, but in my opinion, we have one of the best behavioral health services in the whole PD area. And I know sometimes people say that, well, I want it a little bit more confidential, but we're also continuing behavioral health services via telehealth. So that's just about as confidential as you can get. Um, so please really heed this. Understand that we're very aware of these stresses and anxiety. We're concerned, and we're going to do everything in our power to really think how we can help you get through these pretty tough times. We are, as I mentioned last week, we are continuing the lunches. Now, uh, remember that when we implemented the lunches, the free lunches at all the site locations, that we didn't say that they had to be on a certain day, or what have you during the week. Every site was free to sort of choose what day of the week suited them best. So, as we continue with this, there might be some changes. You might, in your site, switch from a Wednesday to a Friday or Monday or what have you. But as far as what we are supporting from the management is the continuation of these weekly lunches. We so appreciate everything that you're doing, and we probably only know to a small extent the burdens and the anxiety and the stresses that y'all are faced with, both at the office and at home and in your communities. Uh, so, testing is really continuing. Let me shift gears here and let's talk a little bit about that. We had our most recent testing event was in Chesterfield, and although we didn't have quite as many turned out as we anticipated, we've got a big week of testing coming up next week. We'll have a big event in Sherrall on Tuesday at the Northeastern Technical College. And we're also getting a lot of requests now that are coming in from many other organizations. The Chesterfield County Detention Center was tested just yesterday. As a matter of fact, I'm having to review my notes, but just yesterday we tested the folks at the Chesterfield County Detention Center, and next week it'll be the Darlington County Detention Center. Churches are also beginning to come to us and ask for some support in testing. I think we've got testing scheduled on the 2nd, right before the 4th of July, at the Church of the Lord Jesus Christ of the Apostles' Doctrine. That's over in Hartsville. And that'll be a pretty big number of folks that are going to be tested. And then, of course, on our schedule coming up, we've had Roundo, the Missionary Baptist Church over there, kind of between Society Hill and Darlington. That's been on our schedule now since July the 9th. And some of the athletic departments, Coker University has asked us, and I think I told y'all about that already. Just so you get a little bit of perspective, though, for the board meetings, I always kind of prepare a little overview for the board to understand what we do in testing. I hear a lot of reports from other FQHCs, both across the state and across the nation, around how testing is going on in their organizations, and we're right up there in providing some of the largest numbers of tests in the communities. Last 4 weeks, we provided 2,895 tests. Now, we did that both in those events that I've talked about, and also you're still continuing to do testing at many drive-through locations. It's not always possible to do so every day. Sometimes that's an issue of not having staff available. Sometimes it's because we don't have the test kits, but you're still doing a lot of testing, especially Bishopville and Bennettsville, by the way, and kudos to y'all. And it's really making a difference. The number of cases that we had positive was 124. So we are the primary entity within the PD that is doing this testing. And when you have only 124 positive cases out of almost 2,900, our rate of positive results is much lower than the state rate, which means that we are doing a really good job in reaching out to people and in getting tests out there. There's still work to be done. We can't get comfortable because this virus is vicious. It is still wreaking havoc in many of your neighboring communities. You go shopping in Florence, or you go to the beach, or go across in North Carolina to the Charlotte area. You'll see some pretty scary numbers in those communities. So it's still wreaking havoc. I'm afraid we've got a while to go on this. So it's kind of, my message kind of sums up to buckle down. We got some long roads ahead of us. For that reason, we are also going to rethink some of our plans around our administrative offices. Our administrative offices are different in that they're different from your clinical settings. In your clinical settings, you're seeing patients. Your clinical teams are moving around. They're going from exam room to exam room. There's a lot of flow that goes on in those settings. That's really often not the case in administrative settings. In administrative settings, the staff often are there. They're at their desk. They don't go anywhere. They don't move around. They don't go to exam rooms or anything like that. And even though they're doing a good job with masking, they're doing a good job with the physical social distancing. But even though all of that is in place, we're still concerned because we're learning that this virus not only has a a course that depends on diminishing it with masking and social distancing, but also the element of time. The longer people spend in close environments, even 6 foot, and the more activity that is going on, just the act of speaking. As I speak, I'm there. I'm aerosoling the air around me. Not like it would be if I was singing, but it's still happening. So we're concerned about this, and we're going to be taking a second look at ways that we can minimize risk in our administrative setting because we know we've got a long term ahead of us, and we may have to rethink some of our locations, some of our safety measures, and so forth. So I'll try to keep you tuned into that as things progress. You may see some of the offices and some of the staff in the offices begin to move to different locations or even new locations. We certainly wish that we had our St. David's building ready in Society Hill, but we don't. And we just have to face those facts and do the best we can and maybe find some other alternatives. Actually, since I'm speaking about St. David's right now, I we think that given the constraints in construction, like supply chain, things like that, uh, it could be upwards of a year or more before we're really going to be able to say, okay, we're ready for a move in at St. David's. So mm, that might be kind of hard news, and I think it's kind of sad to hear that, but I think that's a reality check. So we're gonna start having to think about some other options. I do want to let y'all know about something though, before I begin to wrap up today. One of the things that we were able to do with our grants is we were able to purchase these special. I don't want to get too technical with you, and certainly not for your need, but for my need because I'll kind of twist myself up if I try to. But these are special attachments to the air conditioning units in each of our buildings. And what these special attachments do is using a variety of systems, they literally scrub the air. Um, I think there's some ultraviolet involved and some what have you, but we purchased enough of these, I'm going to call them scrubbers, for every single location. And they are approved by the who would it be? FDA, whoever approves stuff like that. That they recognize that these scrubbers, can remove the coronavirus. So I'm really excited about that. They're going to go, and some of them have already been installed, quite a bit, as a matter of fact. We're going to be putting out some little posters and things for all the locations that they're going up in because I'm really excited about this. I think that this adds a level of safety in your locations. It's not 100% comfort yet, even with these scrubbers, but they are going in. So That is actually very good news. Neil and his team have been working very hard to accomplish that. And in the next go around, we know that the call center is going to be included, and also the mobile units, the roads team units, and everything. So this is a good development. This is exciting, I think. Uh, I really don't have much else to update folks on. I said it was going to be brief. Remember, you can always send me an email. I get emails from folks quite regularly. Stay in touch with Shanika. Let her know your concerns as the Inclusion Council works through those priorities that I laid out last week. The priority, well, number one, is to come up with a statement that reflects not just the position of CARE South Carolina. A lot of organizations have done that. I think it's important not only to take a position, but to be very concrete in what we're going to do about it. And that is the charge that I've given to the Inclusion Council and that they'll be working on. So thanks, everyone. Please, I say this every time, please be safe over the weekend. Be very careful out there. The virus is still rampaging, and we want to see you healthy and Care South Carolina strong on Monday. You have a very good weekend, though. Bye bye.